At 44 years old, his back was held together by a heating pad and painkillers. His pitching finger was bleeding before he threw a single pitch. He told his coach to keep a reliever ready because he did not think he would last the first inning. Then he walked to the mound and threw one of the most dominant performances in baseball history, a no-hitter, 16 strikeouts against the best-hitting team in the league. That night, 10,000 people who had been listening on the radio turned their cars around and drove to the stadium just to be there. That night made no sense, and to understand why it happened at all, you have to go back to a town most people have never heard of.
Got him swinging. Again, the 1-2 pitch now coming to Sheffield. Got him swinging. And Franco to nullify that one hit by Parker. Now at 294 on the year.
Lynn Nolan Ryan Jr. was born the youngest of 6 children. His father ran a newspaper delivery route for the Houston Post, waking before dawn to prepare 1,500 papers. From second grade onward, Nolan was in the car before sunrise helping him work. People romanticized this into a story about Ryan building his arm by throwing rolled newspapers at front doors. Ryan corrected it. "We delivered from the car," he said. "So I was always using my left arm." What the mythology got right was simpler. A boy who watched his father work in the dark without complaint did not need a baseball to learn what discipline looked like. Scout Red Murph watched Ryan pitch in high school and wrote one line in his report, "The best arm I have seen anywhere in my life." Ryan was not yet thinking about the major leagues. His idol was Sandy Koufax. The first time he saw Koufax pitch, something shifted. Not a dream, more like recognition. Within 11 years, he had broken every record Koufax owned. The other constant was Ruth Holdorf, the state tennis champion, and by every account, the more competitive of the two. In the off-seasons, she put on a catcher's mitt and caught his pitches herself. The arm was not the only reason Nolan Ryan made it. The New York Mets drafted Ryan in the 12th round of the 1965 amateur draft. To be fair, Ryan gave them reasons to doubt. In 5 seasons with New York, he went 29 wins and 38 losses. He walked batters at a rate that made managers reach for antacids. He spent weeks away fulfilling Army Reserve obligations, commuting to Houston every other weekend during the season. Neither he nor Ruth liked New York, and the Mets never quite figured out what to do with an arm that could blow the ball past anyone but had no reliable idea where it was going. His pitching coach, Rube Walker, described his strategy for working with Ryan with bleak simplicity. "We tell him to throw as hard as he can for as long as he can." In the 1969 World Series, Ryan came out of the bullpen in Game 3 against the Baltimore Orioles. The Mets won that game, took a 2-1 series lead, and went on to win the championship in 5 games. Ryan had his ring. He was 22 years old. It was also the only World Series game he would ever appear in. By the end of the 1971 season, Ryan had reached his limit. He told Ruth that if the Mets did not trade him, he was done. He would go back to Texas, go to college, maybe study veterinary medicine. On December 10th, 1971, the Mets traded Ryan to the California Angels for shortstop Jim Fregosi. Fregosi was a former All-Star. The trade at the time seemed defensible. Mets manager Gil Hodges told reporters, "You always hate to give up on an arm like Ryan's. He could put things together overnight, but he has not done it for us and the Angels wanted him." What happened next is one of the most lopsided outcomes in the history of professional sports. Fregosi batted .232 in his first season as a Met, made 15 errors at third base, and was sold to another team 18 months later. Ryan, meanwhile, went to California and became the most dominant pitcher anyone had ever seen. The New York Times later described the trade in one sentence: "The Mets' trade of Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi was unquestionably the worst in baseball history." California gave Ryan one thing New York never did: a regular turn in the starting rotation. For the first time in his career, he was not being used in relief, not being squeezed behind Tom Seaver and Jerry Koosman, not commuting back to Texas every other weekend. He was a starter. Every 4 days, the ball was his. In his first season with the Angels, Ryan won 19 games and struck out 329 batters. The next season, 1973, he broke Sandy Koufax's modern-era single-season strikeout record with 383. He also threw 2 no-hitters that year, the first 2 of his career within 60 days of each other. 2 no-hitters in one season. Only 5 pitchers in the entire history of Major League Baseball have ever done that. Then, in 1974, a pitch of Ryan's was officially clocked at 100 miles per hour and 9/10, entering the Guinness Book of World Records as the fastest pitch ever recorded. Reggie Jackson later pointed out that radar guns in that era measured velocity 10 feet from the point of release rather than at release. Accounting for the difference, he said, that would have been 108 miles per hour. You do not hit it. Rod Carew, one of the greatest contact hitters in the history of the sport, once said plainly, "I knew every time I faced him I would go 0 for 4. Carew hit .328 for his career. Against Ryan, he considered 0 for 4 a success. Some hitters said Ryan's fastball arrived so quickly that they identified it not with their eyes but with their ears. From 1972 to 1979, Ryan averaged 19 wins and 322 strikeouts per year. He threw 4 no-hitters as an Angel. He led the American League in strikeouts 7 times in 8 seasons. And then, at the end of 1979, the Angels let him go on November 19, 1979. The Houston Astros signed Nolan Ryan to a 4-year contract worth $4.5 million, making him the first pitcher in baseball history to earn $1 million per year. Ryan had grown up 26 miles from the Astrodome. He had once told reporters he would buy his own bus ticket to Houston if it meant he could pitch for his hometown team. Now he was coming home, and the whole city knew it. He spent 9 seasons with the Astros, the longest stint of his career with any team. He threw his 5th no-hitter. He led the league in strikeouts 4 more times. And on April 27, 1983, he surpassed Walter Johnson's career strikeout record, a mark that had stood for 56 years and that most people believed would never fall. Ryan had said publicly that when he came into the game, there were 2 records everyone assumed were permanent: Johnson's strikeout total and Babe Ruth's home run record. The record-breaking strikeout came in the 8th inning against Montreal. He froze pinch hitter Brad Mills with a curveball. Mills later said he did not even know how close Ryan was to the record until he heard the crowd erupt after he sat down. And yet, in 1987, Ryan had what may be the most unjust statistical season in the history of pitching. At 40 years old, he led the entire National League in earned run average at 2.76. He led the league in strikeouts with 270. He finished with 8 wins and 16 losses. His teammates scored him fewer than 2 runs per game on average. In many starts, they scored nothing. He lost games he was dominating because the men behind him could not produce a single run. The Cy Young Award went elsewhere. It was not the first time. In 27 seasons, pitching at a level that earned him a first-ballot Hall of Fame induction with 98.8% of the vote, Nolan Ryan never once won a Cy Young Award. Then, after the 1988 season, Houston owner John McMullen decided that Ryan, who had come within 2 outs of a no-hitter that year and led the league in strikeouts the previous 2 seasons, deserved a pay cut. Ryan understood his value and left. Most people assumed the Texas Rangers signing Nolan Ryan at 42 years old was a farewell gesture. They were wrong in a way that became one of the strangest stories in sports history. In his first season with the Rangers, Ryan led the league with 301 strikeouts and struck out his 5,000th career batter Rickey Henderson on August 22, 1989. The following year, Ryan threw his 6th no-hitter at age 43, becoming the oldest pitcher in history to throw one. Something happened during that same season that tells you everything about who Ryan was. In a separate start against Kansas City, a line drive off Bo Jackson's bat caught Ryan square in the mouth. The team doctor stitched him up between innings with black thread. He walked back to the mound with sutures in his lip and blood on his jersey and finished the game. Between innings in those years, Ryan's walk-up music played over the stadium speakers. Then came May 1st, 1991. Ryan woke up feeling, in his own words, every one of his 44 years. At the ballpark, he strapped a heating pad to his back. He told pitching coach Tom House to keep a reliever ready. "My back hurts, my finger hurts, my ankle hurts, everything hurts," he told House. "I feel old today. Watch me." He walked to the mound and struck out 16 Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto was the best hitting team in the league that night. It did not matter. After the 2nd inning, he came back to the dugout and told his teammates, "Boys, get me 1 run. That is all I am going to need today." They got him 3. The game was not on television. Fans listening on the radio began to sense something was happening around the 5th inning. They started driving to the stadium. By the time Ryan recorded the final out, roughly 10,000 additional people had entered Arlington Stadium. Gate staff had stopped collecting tickets and simply waved people in. The last batter was Roberto Alomar. His father, Sandy, had been Ryan's second baseman on the Angels during Ryan's first two no-hitters. Manager Bobby Valentine opened a bottle of champagne he had been saving since 1986 for a World Series celebration. He had never needed it for that. He needed it now. After the celebration, Ryan rode a stationary bike for 30 minutes. He did this after every start. That night was not an exception. The bad blood between the Texas Rangers and the Chicago White Sox had been building for 3 years before it came apart on August 4, 1993. It started in spring training of 1990, when White Sox infielder Craig Grebeck hit a home run off Ryan and celebrated longer than Ryan considered appropriate. Ryan made a note. Later that season, Grebeck hit another one off him in a regular season game. Ryan hit him with a pitch the following week. Both teams took notice. The tension accumulated across seasons. On August 4th, 1993, Robin Ventura was 26 years old, a Gold Glove third baseman, and one of the better hitters in the White Sox lineup. Ryan was 46. In Ventura's first at-bat that night, he singled to drive in a run. When he came up again in the third inning, Ryan hit him in the arm with the first pitch. Ventura took a few steps toward first base. Then he stopped, dropped his bat, and charged the mound. Ryan caught Ventura in a headlock with his left arm and threw several hard punches with his pitching hand. When both benches emptied and the pile formed, Ryan ended up at the bottom, unable to breathe, approaching unconsciousness. He later described the moment. "I thought I was going to black out and die, when all of a sudden I see two big arms tossing bodies off of me. It was Bo Jackson. He had come to my rescue, and I am awful glad he did because I was about to pass out." Ryan was not ejected. The umpiring crew determined he had the right to defend himself. He stayed in the game, pitched 7 innings, and was the winning pitcher in a 5-3 Rangers victory. Nearly 19 years later, in 2012, Ventura became manager of the White Sox. His first game was against the Texas Rangers. Ryan was serving as team president. Before the game, Ryan walked across the field and into the White Sox clubhouse and wished Ventura good luck. Here is the honest version of the argument against Nolan Ryan. He walked 2,795 batters in his career, more than any pitcher in history, nearly 1,000 more than anyone else. He threw 277 wild pitches, also a record. His career winning percentage was .526, a pitcher who won roughly as many as he lost. He never won a Cy Young Award. After 1969, he never appeared in another World Series. The hitters he faced reached base nearly a third of the time, despite all the strikeouts. One of his no-hitters, the one against Minnesota in 1974, included 8 walks. He threw a no-hitter while putting 8 men on base without a hit. That is either a marvel or an argument, depending on your disposition. His critics say he was a great strikeout pitcher, not a great pitcher. There is a difference. A great pitcher wins. Here is the honest version of the argument for him. Ryan pitched 27 seasons. He struck out 7 pairs of fathers and sons during that career, including Bobby Bonds and Barry Bonds, because he played long enough for the sons of hitters to grow up and face him. No other pitcher in history has done that. His single-season record of 383 strikeouts has never been seriously threatened. His 7 no-hitters stand 3 clear of anyone else in the history of the sport. He had 215 games in his career with 10 or more strikeouts, a record that is nearly double what the second-place pitcher managed. He led his league in strikeouts 11 times. He struck out more batters after turning 40 than most pitchers' record in an entire career. And the walks? Ryan pitched in eras without reliable pitch framing data, with inconsistent strike zones, and for stretches of his career without a second pitch, he could throw for strikes with confidence. He was wild because he was operating at the absolute edge of what a human arm can do. The margin between a fastball at 100 miles per hour that catches the inside corner and one that misses by 4 inches is not a character flaw. It is physics. 2-time National League Most Valuable Player Dale Murphy said, "Nolan Ryan is the only pitcher you start thinking about 2 days before you face him." Randy Johnson, who may be the only pitcher in the same conversation as Ryan, called him the most intimidating pitcher in the history of the game. Ryan himself never sounded like a man chasing mythology. He said once, I have never really been a goal setter. The records are there because people bring them up. It is one of those things that eventually was going to happen. The controversy around Ryan is real, but the evidence on the other side is real too. We began this story with a man walking to home plate holding a table leg. That image is funny, but it is also the picture of a person who understood, in the ninth inning of a lost game, that the only honest response was to make people smile, not to give up, but to offer the one thing left that was genuinely his. Norm Cash spent his career being overlooked, traded for a man who played 4 games, overshadowed by Roger Maris in the greatest season of his life, booed in his home ballpark by fans who could not forgive him for an extraordinary year he could not repeat, released over the telephone after 15 seasons, never inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, and yet Cash and 8 teammates played together for 10 consecutive seasons in Detroit from 1964 through 1973. That is a major league record that the free agent era has made nearly impossible to break. Al Kaline, one of the finest players of his generation, said that every time someone mentioned Norm Cash, he smiled, not because of any statistic, because of what it felt like to share a clubhouse with him for a decade. The numbers, for those who care, hold up. Cash's career offensive rating was higher than 2 first basemen later inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He received fewer than 2 votes out of every 100 on his only ballot appearance. He singled off the greatest pitcher in the game to start the rally that made Detroit champions. He named his boat after himself, wore cowboy boots on a wet dock in northern Michigan, and lived with the particular joy of a man who had no regrets about the life he chose. Norm Cash was not the most famous Tiger. He was never enshrined in Cooperstown, but in Detroit, when his name comes up, people smile. That is what Stormin' Norman left behind, and if you think about it, that might be enough. If this story stayed with you, share it with someone who loves the game. Drop a comment below with a player from this era you feel never got the credit they deserved. We read every one. Like the video if you want to see more stories like this, and we will see you next time.